You're listening to The VO Life with Troy Holden.
Hey, Hank, you gotta hear this.
Huh?
It's this new book that I'm reading.
Hold on, let me pause my movie. All right, what's up? What's this book all about?
It's about healthy living, exercise, nutrition, so many things I've never known about our bodies. It's amazing.
All of Scripture is God-breathed and useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness.
I'm happy you're so passionate about this, Barlow, but I really don't think that stuff's for me.
But Hank, what are those? Potato chips?
Yeah. You want some?
No, thanks. I'm gonna go for a bike ride to get some exercise. Did you want to come?
Thanks for the offer, but I paused my movie on a cliffhanger.
This is The VO Life. Positive conversations about living the voiceover life. Insight into the business and day-to-day grind of being a regular Joe VO. From the humble beginnings to the finally hitting a new level to getting that first big client. It's all about that VO life. Here's your host, Troy Holden.
Hey, and welcome back to the VO Life, the place where we dig around in the ditches with normal VO people who are digging and trying to make a living and trying to break into the business big time, bigger time. Maybe you don't want to break in big time. Maybe it's a part-time thing. But we like to do interviews here. We like you to meet people that you see on these Facebook pages and kind of hear more about what they're doing with their life. And this young man is he and I met a while back and probably on one of the groups, and we started interacting and messaging each other, and we had some fun back in January. He had a thing he wanted to do. We kind of collaborated on. I can't remember the second name, but I remember Hank quite well.
Hank and Barlow.
Hank and Barlow. I couldn't remember and Barlow's a pocket knife. I should never forget Barlow. This is Brandon McCaskill. Brandon, great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
You're quite welcome. I really enjoy watching your progress, and I know when I first started on voices.com, I asked you a lot of questions because I had no clue what I was doing, and you were a big help, and I appreciate that. And I think that's the wonderful thing about voiceover. A lot of us really don't mind helping each other.
No, I mean, how much greater are we when we just share what we know, right? I mean,
right.
The industry is just so big. Like, you're not a threat to me. Like, there's more work for me out there, so might as well help you because I know you probably have something to help me. So everybody benefits.
Right, exactly. We all. That's the thing that really bugs me sometimes is people see each other as, yes, you are in a way competition, but everybody's not going to like what I do. They're not going to like what you do. They're not going to like what somebody else does.
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing, their preferences change from month to month. I've learned that. If you have people say I really love what you did and I'm going to use you for this and this and this, and you never hear from them again. So they go find another voice they like. It's just the way it is. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Exactly what you're saying. Like, you and I sound completely different. Like, you got your rich Southern twang, and I got my Canadian, or whatever you want to call it. It's not twang, but I don't know what you call that.
No, it's not twang. You have what I think is that ultimate. Even though it's Canadian, you have that neutral, and I don't like to tag people always millennial, but there is something millennial about it. But to me, that's the hot thing. I mean, that's what I see on 8 out of 10. This is what we want. They want that neutral, no accent, and I've heard you do that perfectly. And then I've heard you come down south a few times. I like that stuff you do.
I try.
It's nothing. Hey, I'm going to tell you, and of course I press for people. If you want an original, real Southern accent, call me. But they're not gonna always go to the original. I mean, I've done things with an Australian accent for games. All kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. Crazy. But let me ask the question I like to start with. Tell us about how you got into this and why you got into this.
How and why? Okay, well, the why. Like, I've been interested in voice acting for so long. Like, I can even remember being like 8 or 9 years old. And I have 7 brothers, by the way. I grew up with 7 brothers, and the 4 younger ones. I was the oldest of the younger half, and as we grew up, we listened to like radio dramas because we didn't have television, so we listened to radio dramas like Adventures in Odyssey and Down Gilead Lane and Paws and Tails, and so we'd hear all these voices all the time, and I started doing that myself, trying to entertain my little brothers. So like that interest cut on really early on, and I just remember this one instance. It was getting close to Christmas time, and like because at 8 or 9 years old, you're playing with your stuffed animals and all that stuff, and you're making these stories. But my brothers and I got together and we put together this script, and we're like, we're going to show our parents at Christmas time. So we put together this script that we had these lines memorized, and we actually did all the sound effects for it, and we hit record on my dad's tape recorder, and we performed this entire like Christmas special for my parents. And when they listened to it, it was just it was like their proudest moment of their kids, and just like
That's awesome.
when your parents like are proud of you, it does something to a kid. I think it's just like it just motivates you to kind of keep pursuing that. And I really think that's the time where it started really being ingrained in me that I love to perform. And like going into the high school days, it was mainly I was doing music performances. So I was like singing on stage with my guitar, and not as much as acting until probably my senior year in high school, where I was in a musical, and then the like the skits and the theatrical performances started to begin, and that carried throughout. Like we would have these church programs at the different churches that I went to over the years, and they'd have these plays and skits that I would get into, and they'd let me just experiment with different voices. And in fact, I remember I'll tell this story because I think it's kind of funny. I was part of this skit where there was like 7 or 8 cast members, and we were all supposed to show up for rehearsal because we were going to perform the next night. But it just so happened to be a giant snowstorm. So it was just me and the director that showed up. And he was just like, well, I think we're just going to cancel. And I said, well, let's not cancel. I said, let's, he's like, I'm like, I think I can do some of these voices. So he let me do 6 different voices, or 5 different voices. And we carried on through with this performance. And it was just a really fun experience because we had the entire sanctuary just burst into laughter. So that was pretty fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. But then I didn't get into, I never actually heard of voiceover until 2018, mainly because I didn't know the industry existed. Like I knew it existed, obviously, because I had watched like animated movies, and I know actors exist, but I didn't know how, accessible it was. Like I didn't know how easy it was to get into it.
Right.
And it was November 2018. I was building houses at the time. I was actually, before voiceover, I was in the trades for almost 10 years, and I was a lot of home building stuff. And I knew I wanted to get out of it somehow. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I mean, I just look at my bosses, and they're, holding their backs, climbing out of their work truck. Like, I'm just thinking, is this what I got to look forward to?
Right.
If this is the career path that I'm choosing, is this what I got to look forward to? And I just wanted out of it. But it wasn't until November of 2018, my brother came to me. My youngest brother, he was at Humber College in Toronto. He was trying to become an actor, and his teacher had given him a website and just mentioned to the class saying, if you guys are interested in voiceover, this is a reputable source that a lot of people go to. And it was a link to voices.com. So that was my introduction to voiceover through voices.com. And I ended up doing some research. And in that research, I found Mr. Bill DeWeese, whom I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with. And it was basically from there, that's how it started. I worked an hour every night because I was working full time at the time. And I put an hour every night after work into my voiceover. And yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Interesting. So the Bill DeWeese part of that, did you go through any of his training that he does or did you just watch videos or what'd you do?
Well, at first, he's got a lot of free content on YouTube. He's I don't know if this is true, but I think he's the most subscribed to voiceover talent. Is that true? I don't know if that's true.
That's probably right. I wouldn't doubt that.
Okay.
I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, he's got hundreds of videos. So I was just kind of soaking in everything he had there. But then I realized, I'm like, I need to talk to the guy directly. I need to basically be coached a little closer. So I joined his Blueprint program, which is I still have access to. You have lifetime access to it when you get it. And super, super helpful stuff. I mean, I don't think there's a question I can think of that's not answered in that Blueprint program. So I'm always referring to it. I mean, a lot of it's common sense. A lot of it's voiceover 101 type stuff, but definitely. I mean, it's even good to go back and relearn some things that I've forgotten. So, yeah.
Did you go to a lot of the live stuff where he would have people do reads and they would coach the read, or did you go to any of the spin-off things where maybe Mike Hathcote was doing it or Dave Fenoy? I know they used to do a lot of video stuff.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what the time frames were for those, but I'm pretty sure it was like in an awkward time frame because I'm in Eastern Standard Time Zone. I think they're Central Time, but I think I only jumped on one call. But I realized it was it was just your opportunity to read in front of someone, and they were trying to get you kind of in the setting of presenting in front of real clients, right? They wanted you to feel that pressure. So out of that, I got the idea to start kind of my own Facebook group where I was inviting people to kind of do the same thing just with each other, just to get that pressure, just get used to that pressure. So that's something I took from those calls, which was really, really helpful for me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you were in trade, you were building houses. And boy, what a fortunate thing to be able to make that jump now. I mean, the timing is really good. I mean, I would have loved to have been in my 30s, early 30s, and this be accessible. I just can't imagine, what life could have been like had I had that opportunity. Now, I'm not complaining. I've had a very good career in manufacturing, management, automotive manufacturing. Can't complain, but this is the Quan.
I know what you mean.
I really love it. What do you most enjoy about voiceover and this type of life? And let me weave into that. That's not all you do. You're a very creative person. You write. There's music. There's lots of things that are going on, and you're always branching out and doing other things. But is it just a thing for you? You really need to live that creative life more than a voiceover life?
Oh, I get fueled over just creative stuff, and I'm not afraid of putting stuff out there, even if it sucks. I would say that's my strength. It's just not caring what people think, and if people like it, that's awesome. No, but like what you're saying, like I really hope, or I wish that I was aware of how accessible voiceover was when I was younger, like before I went 10 years through the trades. I mean, I'm very appreciative for all that experience because like I built my own booth and did it like professionally. Probably won't have to build another one for another 10 years or so, but I'm so thankful for that. And I mean, it is what it is, right? It's I know about it now, and how I found it. Well, like I said, it was through my brother, but talking about the jump from part-time to full-time, maybe I'll go there and kind of share a little bit of how I transitioned there.
That's always interesting to people.
Yeah, and that's ultimately the goal, right? But it was 2018 when I started on voiceit.com. And so that was 2 months before, it was about a month before the new year of 2019. And my son was born January 10th, 2019. And he was born with a liver disease. And it was around then, I mean, the doctors were telling us that, kind of gave us a scope of what our life was going to look like the months to come and even the years to come. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I can't take that much time off of work. That's going to really hurt us financially. And I said, okay, well, I got my foot in the door with this voiceover stuff. And so we were looking at, they basically kind of gave us a year and 4 months warning because his liver transplant was going to happen a year and 4 months down the road. So I kind of took that as an opportunity to kind of work my butt off at my full-time job to put some money to the side so that I could eventually jump ship, both feet, into voiceover. And that's exactly what happened. It was August of 2019 that I jumped ship of my full-time home building job. And that's when I joined the program with Bill DeWeese. And I haven't looked back. Every day is just, 9 hours a day in my booth, cranking it.
So what's a day like? Are you regimented with your routines? Do you say, that, every day this has to happen at these times? I'm managing myself that way, or how do you manage?
Yeah, I mean, right, we're our own bosses, right? So there's nobody standing above us, telling us to get this done. And that's what I was used to for the last 10 years. Someone, keeping me on task. But for me, knowing that I always tell myself that there's always something to do. If you're a voiceover talent and you say there's nothing to do, something's wrong, because you could be working on your marketing. You could be updating your demos, tightening up your website, whatever it is. So in my mind, I always try to keep the reality of there's always something to do. And what helps me is, this is just me, I physically write on a piece of paper. I just jot down notes of what I want to get done that day. Even if it's just like 5 things, like I'll put auditioning on voices.com. When I do that, scratch it off. Update some demos, scratch it off. Just so that, because it's so easy. It's my personality. You watch one cat video on YouTube, 3 hours later, you're, watching monster trucks, right? So.
Yeah. I know. I'm right there with you. And a lot of people have a very regimented schedule. I get up from 8 to 9, I'm checking email and I'm answering email. From 9 to 10, I'm doing this, and 10 to 12, I'm doing that. I'm more with you. I love list. I like list. I like pen and paper. Technology's wonderful, but there's nothing better to me than a steno pad or a notebook, and I'm making notes of what I got to do the next day, because I know today I'm already lining up tomorrow, and I'm still not full time. But my wife is blown away. She said, I think you could stay in that room easily 8 to 10 hours a day and be very happy with it. And I said, yeah, but I could, because there's, like you said, there's always something to do. Always.
Doesn't mean it's profitable, but there's always something to do. I shouldn't say that. It doesn't mean you're going to make money every day, but you're planting seeds to make money someday, right?
Yeah, and that's what I see about this business. You're early on, and I'm saying the first 5 years, even full time, you're planting a lot of seeds, hopefully setting up yourself for repetitive business. That's
like
what
squirrel
I want.
marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Bearing
So
you
mentioned your son and your family. Tell us a little bit about your family and how you guys are faring, and what do you guys do for fun?
For fun, well, with my son's situation, he's very immune suppressed. He takes medication that intentionally suppresses his immune system. So as you can imagine, with COVID going on, we have to be very careful.
Yes.
So that kind of keeps us at a far distance. This started before COVID. So we were living isolated lives before everyone else was. So when everyone else started doing it, we're just like, hey, join the club.
Right.
But that's kind of how we've been living. Just we visit friends and family down at the park. We live in a beautiful city here in Ontario, where we basically live on a peninsula here in Sarnia, Ontario, where we got water on three sides, and there's just always something to go out and see, whether it's a bunch of boats going by or different events that go down on at the water. So, yeah, that's basically what we do for fun. Just kind of hang out with friends and family and kick around a soccer ball with my boy. That's always fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Cool. So, in relation into where you're located, I'm somewhat familiar with areas up there. I've been up to the Midland area, Penetanguishene on Georgia Bay. Where are you? Where are you in relation to all of that?
All right. So, I think this is how you Americans locate it. So, think of Michigan and the thumb of Michigan. So, if you put up your left hand, you got your thumb on the right. So right on the right side of your thumb, that's we're a border city to that town. So there's a river that runs between there and Ontario, and right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I always like to ask that, and I know when we talked to Mike a while back, and he was telling me where he was, and then Louise Porter up there. Being on the other side in Vancouver, and it's interesting. Wow. It's huge. I mean, you just don't realize how vast it is up there, and beautiful country on both sides. I'm just amazed.
I really need to get out of Ontario because apparently there's more to see than Ontario.
There's more. There's definitely more. I get to see some of the pictures that everybody posts, and I really enjoy it. Another thing that really has been good for me is to have people I associate with in voiceover that have the same beliefs I do, that are believers. And I run into some people that are not, and they really give me a hard time sometimes. But
man.
Do you ever have you ever found yourself in a voiceover job where you felt like that was an issue, or you felt like, I'm not sure if I should do this? Do you run into that much?
Well, earlier on, it was on Fiverr, where, and this was kind of a lesson for me, just being, like you said, who we are, just kind of what the values we stand for. There was a person, and I mean, you're aware with how Fiverr works, your requirements section, and you can kind of put, they're basically rules and kind of things that you make sure your clients are giving you before you start the project. And I filled mine out incorrectly. So the way you do that is you input these requirements separately, and you just keep clicking add if you want another requirement. So when I first started, I didn't know that. I put all my requirements in the same single requirement. So what ended up happening is a lot of my requirements were being buried within this really small requirement. So people weren't reading what I required. And one of my requirements to this day is no profanity, no adult content, just to weed out the ones that I don't feel comfortable doing. And but as a result of doing this incorrectly, I did have a client. It was going to be a pretty profitable one as well, and I just started to notice just within the first script that there was language that I wasn't comfortable doing, and he left me a bad review and kind of chewed me a new one, and that was that. But it's water under the bridge for me, and it was a lesson learned because there are ways to avoid it. One of mine is, I know it's hard, but I don't do audiobooks because I don't want to get stuck in the middle of an audiobook unless I know the book, right? And find out there's things in it that I don't want to subscribe to.
Right.
So
yeah. Hey, I'm in your club. I don't do audiobooks. I auditioned for one, and it was only because they put a lot of it in there, and I could tell, and it was on Upwork, and I could tell by the posting, it was very Christian based, and I said I could read this, and of course sent it in, didn't get it, but there's another gentleman here where I live. His name's Rodney Turner. I don't know if you've heard of him. No. He's very, very big in audiobooks and does a lot of Westerns. He's got that deep, really deep, way deeper than what I can think about doing.
Yeah.
But and he had a scare not long ago. He had something happen to where he thought he could possibly lose his voice for the rest of his life.
Oh, no.
And fortunately, he got through that, and he's healing up, and he's having to relearn, learn some exercises and things to strengthen. But they told him he could lose it, and then he'd have to relearn how to talk.
Wow.
But very scary. But a wonderful man, great guy, and I hope to maybe talk him into. He has a podcast as well. I hope to talk him into joining here one day.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what he's got to say.
He's a nice guy. So let's talk a little about the future.
Sure.
Some of the things that you're currently doing, voices.com, Fiverr. We're all out there digging away, trying to get our fair share. Are there any other things that you're thinking about, maybe in the back of your mind that you want to try this or try that, or even just something creative that you got on the back burner?
Something creative. I'm not very creative. No. When you say that, I'm just thinking of the different platforms that I'm not on that I want to try. Like Voice 123, for example. But
don't waste your money.
Don't waste my money.
I tell you, unless they make some changes over there, it's really. I joined. It was the regular membership, and I tell you the stuff that I get. If I get 6-8 auditions a week, 5 of them they don't even pay. No pay.
Gee whiz.
So
really?
I don't know. It's
that's the risk you take, I guess.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know and maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not on there and not managing it correctly. And it's hard, being part-time, I guess, because I only have so much time a day to do all the auditions I need to do on voices.com, to do the work that I'm getting on Fiverr and Upwork.
Yeah.
And then try to live a normal life. Thank goodness my kids are grown or I couldn't do this. But,
right.
Yeah.
No,
but I guess what I was more thinking about is I know you touched on Hank and Barlow earlier, or I did, and that was something you were looking at trying to market, and it didn't go exactly how you wanted. I really was surprised that it didn't, because I really liked the message it gave. And and if you don't mind, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to play one of those, and then I'm going to ask you to email me an MP3 of your demo, and we're going to highlight you at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want people to hear Hank and Barlow. I thought it was really cool. And the funny thing is, when we did that, I was home with COVID, and I was really trying to get my voice to work, and I think you were pretty patient with me, so I appreciate that. But it was fun.
No.
I enjoyed it. So I just wondered if you had something like that on the back burner.
Well, that's still on the back burner. Just because I wanted to give it more thought, because I was trying to figure out ways to make it more unique, because it was inspired by another like an audio comic strip that I grew up listening to. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find them for the longest time, because they would just play over the radio. Like this was before I was ever online. This is when I was a kid. And then I found them online, and I'm listening to them. I'm like, these are like really, really good. And apparently they're still playing all around North America, just on stations that apparently I'm not tuned into. Mm-hmm. But so it's like maybe these the people that I reached out to, maybe they were just like, we've already seen this kind of thing. And,
right.
I was having audio problems at the time too. I didn't have my whole audio setup figured out yet. So I think they were detecting some of that, being the pros that they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's stuff like that's fun. I've often listening to the radio a lot, and you hear here in the States there are guys doing traffic for multiple stations, or doing weather for multiple stations. I thought, how in the heck do you get that gig? I'd love to have that gig. Wouldn't it be neat just to sit and record weather for an hour or two and send it out to those stations? And they probably make a pretty nice check off of that.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, pretty neat. And then my crazy thing I branched out in was going to some local small radio stations here, saying, where I knew the owner of the station was doing all the commercials. So every time they had a break, the same guy reads 4 spots. It's the same guy. And I went in and I said, look, I'll do them so cheap you can't resist. And one guy bit, and I did them for him for about a month, and I didn't hear from him anymore. And I asked him, was anything wrong? No, nothing wrong. I just, it's just easier for me to do it myself. I'm like, okay. But it's just amazing the amount of work that is out there if you can find it. And I think that's the burden on us, is we have to go find it.
That's right. I mean, just for an example, like we talked about squirrel marketing, where you just bury something to hopefully it'll plant, in another season. Just this morning, I got an email from someone, I didn't recognize the name, and they were like, hey, Brandon, you emailed us last year. I mean, again, and they didn't even reply to my initial email. Mm-hmm. And they said, we have your demos, and we submitted it to the client, and they chose you. So that was just $300 that just popped out from a little acorn that I planted last year. Right. So it's just these little things. If we're consistent with that, we're going to get rewarded for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Brandon McCaskill Marketing, that may be the next thing for sale on Facebook. Look out. I am just making it up as I go, guys.
I think we all are. We lean on all the information we gather from the groups and everywhere we can get it, and we're winging it. We're all winging it.
That's what's so great about these groups. Like, I can't imagine doing this like on my own. That probably sounds so cliche, but like if I didn't have community, I probably would be making so many mistakes right now.
Yeah, I agree. So, one question I like to ask everybody as we kind of get toward the end, and I think your answer is going to be unique and different, because you talked about as a child how you had a penchant to do, characters and voices and acting. What we, and I was the same way. I was reading into a cassette player, the sports scores or the news or whatever when I was 5, 6 years old, and loved it. Just loved it. I just wanted to be a broadcaster. I didn't know what a voiceover was. Yeah. So if you could go back in time to, say, 12, 14-year-old Brandon, and give him direction, what would you tell him?
Give him direction. I would well, it's a good question, because like a lot of the things that make voiceover easy and accessible right now didn't exist then, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I would have wished that this technology existed back then, because I really wished I was in this younger, because that's where my heart was. That's where my passions were. And I mean, I did the best I could in a non-profitable way. Like, I would do these like skits or funny videos for my friends. So I did accomplish my passions that way. And it's a good question, but not an easy one to answer, because I definitely know I would have jumped on voiceover if it was an option for me then. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I remember, I can't exactly remember who gave the answer, but I asked this same question, and they said they would have said, go find the way to do it, because you're right, the technology wasn't there. And their answer was, I would have somehow made, go back and tell myself there's other, there is an outlet for that, but you'll have to move to here, or you have to go there, or you have to do this. And that way you could have got an earlier start. Yeah, true. I know how you feel. Well, Brandon, it's been a joy talking to you, and I appreciate it. If you've got any last-minute Fiverr secrets you want to share, tell everybody. If you got a secret sauce, share it with us. But I know, like the rest of us, I hope you're having the same troubles I'm having with it.
Yeah, well, my biggest secret is just, even if you really want to just send a nasty message to someone who's mistreating you, just be as professional as possible, because the Fiverr gods are watching. And I really think there's a behind the scenes thing that we don't see that they do. And they're watching how professional you're going to be, because when you get to top rated seller, I'd assume they'd want people who are going to represent them greatly. So you should be acting like that right now as a lower seller. That's my tip.
Right. I'm with you. Treat that $5 job like it's a $500 job.
Amen. Exactly.
You just have to. Hey, Brandon, thanks. I'm sure we'll be talking again and talking back and forth in other platforms and things and commenting on our stuff. And but thanks a lot, and I wish you the best of luck and Godspeed to your family and your son. And I hope things continue to get better and better with all of that. We wish you all the best and wish him all the best as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Troy. It's an honor to speak to you. Anytime, brother.
Okay, that's enough talking. Can we hear some samples now?
Introducing Vizzy Lemonade, the only lemonade hard seltzer with antioxidant vitamin C. It just hits different.
Wendy's serves fresh, never frozen beef on every hamburger. That's why our Dave single is so hot and juicy. What if that Dave single was buy one, get one for $1? And all these things were too.
I didn't go looking to eat someone. You came to me. When the sun rises, I will be emperor.
Hey, if you mess with him, you're messing with me.
Before I drop this into the ocean, is there anything you want to say? I'd say this is just the beginning of something very, very special.
You've been listening to The VO Life with Troy Holden. Check back for more episodes each week and catch up on what you've missed also. This is for you, those just living that VO life. Thanks for listening and join us again.
The VO Life intro is by Louise Porter. The outro by Liz Moya. You can pick us up on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, and many other podcast carriers. Need to send me an email? Do it today. Troy@TroyHoldenVoices.com. Thanks for listening.